And Eric Wu's like, when he talks, how do I describe him? He's almost like when you, it's like that TV show Silicon Valley from HBO. He's like super smart, and when he's talking, it's hard to keep up. So he just says stuff, and I'm just taking notes as fast as possible. In this video, we go over Eric's 5 factors of evaluating a business, and he's done it many times, so he's a bit of an expert. The dearth of brain power in the AI space. Imagine that. What the idea of what is your right to win, and also the concept of turning field workers into master craftsmen in record time using co-pilots in the AI space. Think wearables, but also that's also the same rail that will turn or program or give the data to robots in the open world. Think iRobot in the science fiction movies. But also, he talks about leadership principles, trying to figure out what really matters for you to focus on and what deserves your attention. This was a really interesting interview that I took a ton of notes on. I hope you enjoy. Let's go. Eric Wu, who is co-founder of Opendoor, Navigate AI, and Brainco, and he's interviewed by Brendan Wallace, who is CEO of Fifthwall. And Brendan is very familiar with ICSC and the shopping center industry. He does a lot of venture capital for prop tech. Some of the big takeaways are, if you look at the 5 factors, so this is Eric Wu. And Eric Wu's like, when he talks, how do I describe him? He's almost like when you, it's like that TV show Silicon Valley from HBO. He's like super smart, and when he's talking, it's hard to keep up. So he just says stuff, and I'm just taking notes as fast as possible. So he says that 5 factors for any business that he evaluates, he does it on 5 fundamentals. And this is like, I guess, if he's deciding whether or not to grow the company or maybe even start a company. So number 1 is, what's the strength of the product, the market fit. Number 2 is the distribution mechanisms. Number 3 is business model fit. Number 4 is durability of the business/product, and number 5 is team fit. I personally don't even know what that means. He said it. I think it sounds pretty wise, so take it for, if you know what he's talking about, just comment below, because I'm a little bit confused. He talks about AI's importance, artificial intelligence. And here's a quote. And I actually thought this was pretty cool. AI, quote, AI is more important than the internet. Imagine you can buy a unit of intelligence. That's what AI enables you to do. If that unit gets smarter over time, you can still buy it, and that's unbelievable.
What was your intuition? Just unpack that more. What was it that kind of led you to believe this is the platform shift?
Well, I think about it as, imagine you can buy a unit of intelligence.
Right.
And that's what AI enables you to do. And you can give that to someone else. And that's unbelievable. And if that unit of intelligence is smarter and smarter over time, you can still buy that same unit of intelligence. And so that's an incredible concept.
So that's the quote. He describes 2 rails of AI development. When he says 2 rails, I think he's describing like how sophisticated the AI can be. The first rail is like a high school student. It's low cost, it works 24/7, and there's like limited context, but also requires a lot of monitoring. The second rail is the PhD student. It's deep reasoning, it's full context, and it just like performs. The quote related to that he says, Wu's quote is that today we have high school students, but frontier labs are creating the PhD students. Companies need to use today's AI while building rails towards the PhD version. So again, that's like he's talking like a whole different language almost, but I thought that was pretty cool. I think I get what he's saying. Talent and macro focus. So Wu co-founded Brainco to connect industry companies with AI talent. Brainco, from my understanding, is that when Eric Wu was trying to find really good talent, like technology talent for his companies, he would go to headhunters and things like that, but they weren't so specialized in it to the level of his needs. Like he needed like really, really good people, and they can be anywhere in the world, and maybe you fly them here, like the best of the best of the best. So he started a company with a few partners called Brainco, which would really focus on like super high level AI talent. You're asking him, look, I need brain power. So his focus, he focuses on a few sectors, which is healthcare, energy, and government. And together, those represent 40% of global GDP, which is pretty crazy. He also talks about founder archetypes, archetypes, which is that, and I think he uses a lot of analogies, which is kind of interesting. So the types of tech founders out there, you got like the freshman tech founder who's highly technical. He's like the highly technical CEO that just relies on sheer work ethic. He believes in the 997 grind. If you don't know what 997 means, it means that, and it's popular in China, but I think it's getting some backlash, is that you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you do that 7 days a week. Now, you just outwork the competition is the freshman version of the founder archetype. Now, the senior version, which is like you've done it already, you might have exited some companies, these are seasoned founders, maybe on their third venture, and they have like deep networks, and they, know what to look out for, heavily experienced, and that's the senior archetype. And the question that Eric tries to answer is always, what's your right to win? Why do you have a right to win the competition of business, win against your opponent, win against the competition, right? What's your right to do that? Everyone wants to win, but what gives you the right? So that's the way that he looks at it. I think he's a pretty competitive guy. And one of the things that he talks about is navigate AI. And let me discuss the vision of a navigate AI. What he's thinking about it is that he thinks every job family will have an AI co-pilot in the future. When I say a job family, that would mean, like, for example, if you I think he talks a lot about construction. So maybe if you're doing painting, it's like the family of painting might be the skim person, the popcorn guy, the paint guy, and maybe, I don't know, some other finishing guy or something like the waterproofing guy, maybe. And so that job family is going to have a co-pilot. Starting with field construction labor, and the reason why he does that is because he feels like that's where the most inefficiencies are, since they are kind of the most disconnected from technology. You got field labor, there's not that much technology there. And his quote is that there's this massive labor pool that's offline. And with Opendoor, we had 10,000 subcontractors on the platform and experience operational complexities day to day. There wasn't good solutions for that. I believe that every job family, every employee in the world will have an AI co-pilot within 5 years. And that co-pilot makes the jobs more efficient and productive. We want to build the AI co-pilot for the physical world. So we're aiming to build for field labor. We're starting with construction, so the form factor in the medium term will be a wearable device that has an AI co-pilot that can be spoken to, and you observe they observe what you're doing. It helps with quality control, defect detection, compliance, upskilling, and management. This happens in real time in the cloud. It's going to change how people work. The project manager has a co-pilot. The GC has a co-pilot. So I know what you're thinking. It's like maybe it's Big Brother, and maybe it is to a certain extent. But if you have someone that knows how to do like painting or carpentry perfect because it just studied all of humanity's history and knows how to do it perfect. And you're doing it, and let's say you do something wrong and you're like, no, that's not like the master's way. You're doing it the novice's way. Do it the master's way. I mean, you are going to become a master in like a month, right? So think of it that way. You're turning people that are unskilled or lightly skilled into master craftsmen. But not everyone, wants to be a master craftsman, I guess. But this allows you to do that, which is amazing. So how it works today. Phase one will be mobile devices. Workers capture a 10-minute site video, and then AI breaks it into 100,000 frames, prompts it 10,000 times, and outputs quality checks, defect detection, and compliance insights. That's phase one. Phase two are wearable glasses. Think like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, and it provides real-time, most importantly, hands-free co-pilots. And hands-free because you're in the field, you need your hands, right? Long-term, this data set, so think like, it's recording 100,000 frames in, 10 minutes? And you got, maybe hundreds of thousands of people using it and hundreds of thousands of hours, if not millions of hours of data. So what is that? That's like trillions of frames. So long term, this data set, the trillions of frames, becomes a rail, and he likes to use the word rail a lot. I think that's a tech thing. It becomes a rail for robotics. So think about that. So programming the future machines based on the human workflow. So it saw the mistakes, it saw the results of how to do it right, it saw, what was the outcome of applying the SOPs. I mean, that just kind of blew my mind. I mean, that is a crap load of data, so that's pretty interesting. And the quote is that today we're making, the quote, Eric Wu's quote is, today we're starting with a mobile device. Everyone has one. You take a video of a project, AI will give you all of the features, the quality scores, the quantitative and qualitative detection. It will tell you whether things match or don't match. You can take a 10-minute video of a site, we'll bring that into 100,000 frames, we'll prompt it 10,000 times, and it will iterate from that will iterate from mobile devices to glasses. If you're building the physical world, you need your hands. So that's why the glasses. In the long term, we think that this is the rail for robotics. Basically, we're able to observe labor in the field, how they build things, what mistakes people make. That's a tremendous data asset for robotics. End quote. The impact. It's estimated that there's going to be a 25% immediate savings from reduced inefficiencies in the labor management. That is from their studies and analysis, that right off the bat, 25% savings. Co-pilots can upskill juniors into seniors, ensure compliance and safety, provide project managers and GCs with real-time oversight, turn people into craftsmen in record time. So he ended with a few leadership principles, which I thought was interesting. Again, this is stuff I don't know if I get what he's saying, but some of it makes sense. And so leadership principles, and this is the quote from Eric Wu on leadership principles. Don't get bound up by what doesn't matter. The hard part is figuring out what matters. So Wu uses 3 vectors to figure out what matters. Number 1, am I headed in the right direction? Number 2, do I have the right team at the right stage? Number 3, are we on the right side of history? And timing is critical. And there's another quote. What's counterintuitive is that the 2 other vectors, meaning are we headed in the right direction and do we have the right team, are super high latency. If you need to level up your team in 2 years, you have to do it now. If you meet the CFO or CEO that you want in 2 years, hire them today. That's what he said. Because a lot of times if you I guess, need to, the latency is that once you hire the people, it takes them like a year or two to really get their, to make an impression. So that's Eric Wu.
What is the best piece of advice you would give prop tech entrepreneurs from all of your experience that you've learned that has really helped you? And what's that insight that you would leave entrepreneurs with?
Is I've learned the hard way that only a few things matter, maybe per quarter, maybe per year. And so, don't get bound up on the things that don't matter. Now, the hard part is figuring out what matters and what doesn't. But I have a very simple view of this, which is I try to think about these three vectors every day, which is, am I heading in the right direction? Do I have the right team at the right stage? And are we executing well? And I think that there's always other things that happen around those vectors. But if you're heading in the right direction, if you're on the right side of history, if you're driving product market fit continuously, that's half the equation. And then the other 45% of the equation is actually have to do with a great team. I think founders and operators spend a lot of time on these operating mechanisms. How do we do OKRs properly, and how do we do performance reviews and coaching and this and that. I just think that if you have the right direction with a phenomenal team or the best we could possibly hire, the third part solves itself. And so what's counterintuitive is that these other two vectors are super high latency. They don't feel good to work on. Like I have to up level my team in 2 years. You got to put time in now. Because I meet the CFOs and the CLOs and the head of AIs that you want to hire in 2 years now. And so it's just like not, it's counterintuitive. It takes so long to make a difference. So that's kind of hiring from. And then again, I think half the battle is just being on the right side of history, making sure you're working on the right thing at the right time. And when you have product market fit and macro tailwinds, you can feel that pull.